Welcome to Part 5 of the Paddling Tidewater course with Paddle Trails Canoe Club. This is our final session, and today we'll talk about how to plan and prepare your trip. We'll cover how to find good launch and landing sites, choose spots to stop along the way, estimate paddling distances, and wrap up with a checklist for trip preparation. To find launch sites, one of the best resources is paddling.com. Look for the Go Paddle button and the paddling locations map. Be aware that not every site listed is ideal, so check for user comments. Besides confirming that the site is suitable, they often include helpful details about fees, launch type, parking, and facilities such as restrooms or porta potties. When planning a takeout for a one-way trip, be sure it's accessible by car and has parking nearby. If you're doing an out-and-back trip, you might still want a rest stop near your turnaround point to stretch your legs or have lunch. Parks that have picnic tables and restrooms are great choices, even if a particular park isn't ideal for launching. Some examples in this area are Richmond Beach Park or the south end of Lincoln Park. Much of the Puget Sound shoreline is armored or steep, making landings tricky. However, wherever a creek enters the sound, gravel and sand tend to build up into small deltas that can work as beaches, even at high tide, such as where Piper's Creek and Bowen Creek enter the sound between Golden Gardens and Edmonds. You can spot these using satellite maps or nautical charts. On tidal rivers, muddy banks and steep, brushy shores can make it tough to get out. In those cases, look for a calm place where you can tie your bow or stern line to an overhanging branch and let the boat drift while you pause. Estimating distance is another key step. Consider your own paddling limits. A good tool for estimating water distance is called Miler Meter, which you can find at gmap-pedometer.com. On the line just below the two gray boxes, choose to draw your route in straight lines so that it doesn't attach itself to a road. Then find your starting point on the map and double-click there to begin, and keep double-clicking all along your route to keep adding paddling legs. Next, plan how to work with the tides. As a rule, it's smart to paddle upstream first on a tidal river. Hopefully, you can time your paddle to match the flood tide, which will help get you upstream. But if your timing is off, or if the tidal current that day isn't strong enough to counteract the river current, you can always turn around and float with the current back to your starting point. To plan, look up the tide table nearest to your launch site, then estimate the time and height of the tide for your turnaround point. Ideally, arrive at that turnaround point about a half hour before slack tide, then leave about half an hour after, giving you time for a relaxed lunch. Keep in mind that high tide occurs later the farther you go upstream. Adding a quarter hour for each 4 or 5 miles you go upstream will give you a reasonable estimate. Stronger tidal differences mean stronger currents, but freshwater flow will still affect your speed, especially in spring thanks to extra rain and snowmelt. Generally, focus on a strong rising tide if you want help going upstream. Once you've mapped out your launch, turnaround, and takeout sites, jot down tide times, expected currents, and distances. For a one-way trip, use a map program to estimate car shuttle times, adding a few minutes for parking and payment time. Sharing your full plan with paddling partners will be much appreciated. In the days before your trip, double-check the weather, especially for wind and rain. Pack warm or rain protection layers in a dry bag. Gather your essential gear like sunglasses, hats, maps, and a camera. On the day of the trip, check the weather once more before you leave. Forecasts often change, and keep an eye on conditions during your paddle so that you can turn back early if needed. After your trip, consider writing a short trip report. Details like launch times, tides, currents, water depth, and unexpected challenges can be really useful the next time you decide to paddle that route. Finally, please remember to respect marine mammals. View them from a distance and use a telephoto lens if you want photos. It is the law, and it's also good common sense, since these neighbors of ours are far larger than you and your boat. Thank you for taking the Intro to Paddling Tidewater course. We hope you now feel more confident, knowledgeable, and ready to explore. Stay safe and have fun on the water.